How's it going, everyone? It is Drago, and we're back with another episode of the Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest anime, episode 4. And the chapters that this episode covers is chapters 12 through 15 of the 100 Year Quest manga. And up to this point, we had very minimal things removed from the manga. Pretty much everything was faithfully adapted. But this is the first chapter where they just completely removed a scene. And the scene that I'm talking about is Urza with Kira. She is getting mistreated pretty hardcore as her pet and being fed pretty nasty things and treated pretty terribly. And that scene is completely removed from the anime. Not really sure as to why they removed it, because obviously the anime, I would say, is probably rated to like teenagers, like a PG-13 rating. The previous versions of the anime showed some much worse stuff for Urza compared to what was in the manga chapter here. And I think her just eating nasty, rotten food is, on the grand scale of things, not the worst in the world. Now, obviously, the manga chapter implies that she was going to get beaten up, which, I mean, she kind of does in this episode. She does hit Urza at one point on her butt. And weirdly enough, that actually wasn't in the manga, but they added that scene. Besides that, everything else was perfectly adapted in this episode. Talking about the episode itself now, this episode's pretty much 50-50, of half of it being Jalal and his investigation, and the other half being Team Fairy Tail and the 100 Year Quest stuff. Probably my favorite moment of this whole episode is Lucy's interaction with Brandish. It's just super nice to see those two be like friendly to one another, literally becoming friends. I love the rivalry to try and get Aquarius's key, and also just what it means to both of them. And even still, regardless of Aquarius's key, they'll be friends at the end of the day. Also, additionally, during this scene, they had a slow version of the Fairy Tail theme playing, and that was just such a nice piece of music to be playing during their conversation. I feel like they almost gave Brandish more expression, like her smile has like more weight to it now. Additionally, very cool that you get all the additional members of Alvarez and like what they're up to now. Just kind of cool to see all that. Probably the most standout one is Demaria being a farmer now, because Natsu quite literally scared her so much that she literally decided, yep, fighting, not for me. I'm about to live the farmer life. Genuinely still my favorite part of this episode. Just love those two together and seeing them become friends and kind of rivals in the same sense. And at least 100 Year Quest actually continues Lucy going after Aquarius' key, because obviously main Fairy Tail never resolved that plot point, so at least that is actually being delved into with this series. Pretty big focus of this episode was Urza going up against Kira. First thing before they even fight, I love that when she breaks out and she's like first confronting her, she gets such an evil look on her face, saying, you know, I will return your punishment tenfold. And you get that classic Urza evil stare, which this is where it is kind of a bummer that you didn't get those manga scenes, because as much as I myself don't really care that they got added in or not, it would have added additional context to why Urza wants to so deeply return the punishment for what she was issued. Their fight itself, I don't think it's maybe as good of animation as we've had in the previous episodes, but I think it's still pretty good. The one part I actually really liked is you get all this environmental damage around them, like they're cutting into the ship like crazy. Like even at one point, they cut through a door, and it's just kind of cool to see that environmental damage, because we don't really honestly get too much of that, because you get the walls all cut and all that. And then Urza getting her enchanted sword, Belsarion. Very cool how this is animated. It's kind of got that like blood lightning that Loxus had. Almost tones of like the Godslayer lightning too. And just the way that that's like arcing off of the sword, and it's just like a red, honestly like lightsaber. Pretty cool looking. Now you don't get her fully using it in this episode. She gets like her sword broken and then, you know, that sword appears. It's going to be pretty fun in the next episodes when you actually get her using it to see what attacks would that actually look like, because I just really like the lightning arcing off of it already. So Naruto and Wendy fighting the rest of the Diablos members. This section is obviously very, very short in the episode. I do like Naruto and Wendy combining their magics to actually fight, like with Wendy stopping the ash with her wind and Natsu finally being able to punch the guy. Like, those tag team things are so cool. So Natsu fighting Mad Mole is not very eventful at all, but I just love how excited he is when he defeats him, because it very much is similar to Gajiel in that way, to where he beats him by just heating up his scale so much that like he's gonna melt inside. And Natsu just knowing that, oh, if I turn up the heat hot enough, this guy's done for. And he's just so excited when he defeats him. It's such a cool panel with him. And Natsu just has it feeling like just Natsu's back, man. He's having fun. He's living his best life. Kind of briefly talking about Jalal and the Toka stuff. And additionally also the Fairy Tail Guild stuff, because it's kind of all mixed together. I love that you still get the callbacks to Juvia when something happens to Gray, because Gray ends up on top of Lucy in this episode, and immediately you cut to Juvia and her saying like her Gray radar sense is tingling. Kind of a fun callback, because that was like in Dragon Cry and also just other things as well, but most famously probably in Dragon Cry. And I love that they're still continuing gags like that. It's just a weird quirk of Fairy Tail that I kind of love. And just, I don't know, still seeing guildmates even when we're on this quest away from them, you still get that aspect. It's still fun. I do like the effect that they gave Toka for kind of her turn and how her magic looks. Obviously, you're going to have to wait to see the end result of what she does, but for the most part, pretty cool looking so far. So what are your guys' thoughts on this episode? Leave it in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and it's Drago signing out.